Chosen one, slow down. Before you scroll, before you doubt, listen carefully. Allah is calling you right now. This message did not find you by accident. The desires you never spoke out loud, the wishes you buried deep in your heart, the prayers you thought were unanswered, Allah knows every single one of them. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been asking, Ya Allah, when? This video is your invitation to understand why the wait and what is coming next. Stay with this message. Not because I'm speaking, but because Allah is speaking to your heart through it. Don't rush. Don't skip. Because what you're about to hear may be the key to the question you've been carrying in silence. Watch till the end. This is not for everyone. But if you're still here, it's for you. You didn't imagine it. That moment when everything was about to collapse and then something shifted at the very last second. When help came so late that it almost felt cruel. When you whispered, Ya Allah, why now? This message is for that exact moment. Because what you experienced was not coincidence. It was not luck. And it was not delay without meaning. It was selection. Chosen one, listen closely. There are seasons in life where Allah stays quiet on purpose. Not absent, not unaware, quiet. And silence is not rejection. Silence is preparation. You were never forgotten. You were being shaped in ways you couldn't see yet. You know that feeling when you did everything right but nothing moved. When you stayed patient while others rushed ahead. When doors closed one by one and the only thing left open was your prayer mat. That loneliness, that confusion, that exhaustion you never talked about. Allah saw all of it. Every tear you wiped away before anyone noticed. Every night you stared at the ceiling, asking for strength instead of ease. Every time you chose trust over panic. And if this video appeared for you right now, it's not random. There is a reason your heart slowed down when you pressed play. There is a reason something inside you said, let me just listen for a moment. Because help arriving at the last second is not Allah being late. It is Allah being precise. Before we go any deeper, let me gently say this. If messages like this speak to your heart, consider staying connected with this space. This channel, Deen and Discipline, exists for moments exactly like this. You don't have to rush it. Just a quiet like, a soft subscribe if your heart feels at home here. No pressure, just intention. Now listen carefully. There is a wisdom in why Allah allows things to reach the edge before He intervenes. If He helped too early, you would never know how strong He made you in the waiting. If relief came before the breaking point, you would still believe your strength came from yourself. But Allah wanted you to know something deeper, that when everything else fell away, He was still enough. Think back, really think. The help came when you had nothing left to rely on except Allah. Not your plans, not people, not your own energy, just Him. That is not an accident. That is Tawakkul being carved into your heart. Many people think delay means punishment, but delay is often protection. You were asking for relief, but Allah was giving you depth. You were asking for answers, but Allah was giving you certainty. And certainty only comes after your illusions fall apart. There is a level of faith most people never reach because they quit too early. They leave at level 3. 99% get stuck there. They believe as long as things make sense. They trust as long as results are visible. But you stayed even when nothing made sense. You stayed when prayers felt heavy. You stayed when silence was your only response. That is not common faith. That is chosen faith. Allah tests differently those He intends to elevate deeply. Not loudly, not publicly. Quiet tests, internal tests. Tests that don't look dramatic from the outside but feel unbearable inside. Because the real transformation was never about your situation. It was about who you were becoming while waiting. You thought the delay was about the thing you wanted, the job, the healing, the relationship, the direction. But Allah was more concerned with your heart than your outcome. He was removing arrogance you didn't know you had. He was softening parts of you that would have broken later. He was teaching you how to sit with discomfort without losing your faith. And here's the part most people miss. Help arriving at the last second builds a bond with Allah that ease never can. When relief comes late, it changes how you pray forever. You stop praying as a habit and start praying as survival. You stop talking to Allah formally and start talking to Him honestly. That honesty is priceless. There were moments you almost gave up, moments you questioned if Allah was listening, moments you felt embarrassed to ask again. But every single time you turned back, even weak, even unsure, even tired, Allah welcomed you. Not once did He say, "You asked too many times." Not once did He say, "You doubted too much." He kept the door open until you learned how to walk through it with humility. What you call last second is actually perfect timing. Because now, if Allah blesses you, you won't worship the blessing. You'll recognize the giver. Now, if Allah elevates you, you won't look down on others. You'll remember how it felt to wait. Now, if Allah answers you, you'll answer others with compassion. This is why the help had to come late, because early help would have made you grateful for the outcome. Late help made you grateful for Allah Himself. Stay with me. There is something even deeper unfolding here. You weren't just waiting for help. Help was waiting for you to become ready. You see, readiness is not about strength. It's about surrender. Allah does not delay because He wants to see you suffer. He delays because He wants to see you soften. Because a heart that hasn't been softened by waiting cannot carry heavy blessings without breaking. There were parts of you that needed to fall apart quietly before Allah could rebuild you properly. Parts of your ego, parts of your expectations, parts of the story you told yourself about how life was supposed to go. And Allah, in His mercy, dismantled those illusions slowly, gently, through silence. This is why when help finally arrived, it didn't feel loud. It felt calm, almost subtle, like a door opening without noise, like relief that didn't scream but settled. That's how you know it was divine. Chaos rushes. Allah arrives with peace. You may not realize it yet, but the version of you who entered the trial would not have survived the blessing that is coming. That version would have been overwhelmed, distracted, or even destroyed by it. So Allah waited, not because you were unworthy, but because you were becoming worthy. This is something very few people understand. Allah loves you too much to give you what you're not ready to hold. Think of the nights you cried without sound, the mornings you smiled while carrying heaviness, the times you said Alhamdulillah through clenched teeth. Those moments trained your soul, they disciplined your heart, they refined your intentions, and none of it was wasted. Every sincere dua you whispered didn't disappear into the air. It was stored, preserved, timed. Allah does not answer carelessly, He answers intentionally. And here's a truth that might bring tears to your eyes. Allah sometimes delays help because He loves the conversation He has with you during the waiting. The quiet talks, the raw prayers, the moments where it's just you and Him, without performance, without masks. When life finally stabilizes, people often stop talking to Allah the same way. They become busy, distracted, comfortable, but during the delay your heart stayed close, vulnerable, open, and Allah values that closeness more than you know. If you're still listening, let this sink in. The pain you went through was not a sign of Allah's distance, it was proof of His attention. There is a difference between being ignored and being prepared. You were never ignored. Some of the strongest believers carry the quietest struggles. No one claps for patience. No one celebrates restraint. No one sees integrity when it costs you something. But Allah sees, and Allah records, and Allah repays in ways that heal places you didn't even realize were wounded. You thought the delay was about timing, but it was about trust. Allah wanted to see if you would still believe when there was nothing tangible to hold on to, and you did, even when your voice shook, even when your hope felt thin. That's why this help feels different. That's why it changed you, not just your situation. And listen carefully now. This doesn't mean life will suddenly become perfect. That's not the promise. The promise is something deeper, that no matter what comes next, you will not face it alone. You now know how to survive uncertainty. You now know how to return to Allah without pride. You now know that silence is not abandonment. This awareness is a gift, a quiet one but powerful. If at any point you felt like you were losing your mind, like you were the only one stuck while everyone else moved forward, understand this. Allah often hides His most precious work in delay. Seeds grow in darkness before they ever break the surface. You are underground, not forgotten, just unseen. Stay with this message, because what comes next will help you understand why your story had to unfold exactly the way it did. There is something else you need to hear, and it may be the part that finally brings clarity to your heart. Allah does not measure your life the way people do. People look at speed. Allah looks at depth. People admire results. Allah admires sincerity. While others were moving fast, you were being rooted, and roots grow in darkness, slowly, silently, without applause. That feeling you had, where you wondered if you were falling behind, if life was passing you by, if you somehow missed your chance, that was never the truth. You were not behind. You were being positioned. Some doors don't open when you knock because they are not doors meant to be forced. They open when you become the person who can walk through them without losing yourself. Allah was not withholding goodness. He was protecting you from receiving it in the wrong state. You see, not every delay is about what you asked for. Sometimes Allah delays to save you from what you didn't ask for. The arrogance that comes with quick success. The attachment that forms when things come too easily. The distraction that pulls the heart away once comfort arrives. Allah knew what those things could do to you, so He slowed the process. And in that slowing, He taught you how to sit with yourself, how to face your fears instead of running from them, how to speak to Him honestly without rehearsed words, how to rely on something deeper than outcomes. This is why the help arrived at the last second, because if it arrived earlier, you would have attributed it to timing, effort, or people. But now, deep down, you know, this was Allah. There's a calm certainty that settles in your chest after surviving something you thought would break you, a quiet strength, a knowing that no motivational speech could ever give you. That strength is not loud. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply exists. And Allah loves that kind of strength. You may notice something else too. After the help arrived, certain desires faded, certain fears lost their grip, certain opinions stopped mattering. That's not you becoming cold, that's you becoming anchored. The trial stripped away what was unnecessary so what remained could stand firm. Many people chase signs from Allah in dramatic moments, but the real signs often come in reflection, in hindsight, in the realization that the worst moments shape the best parts of you. If you're still listening, let me say this gently. You are not weak for struggling. You are not behind for waiting. You are not forgotten because things took longer. You are aligned. Allah knows exactly how much pressure to apply and exactly when to release it. He does not rush perfection. And if you're in a place right now where you're afraid the help will disappear again, where you're bracing yourself for the next test, pause, breathe. Remember, Allah did not bring you this far to abandon you now. The same hand that held you in the delay will hold you in the blessing. This doesn't mean you won't be tested again, but you will never be tested the same way, because now you trust differently, you pray differently, you see differently. This is growth you cannot fake. As we move closer to the end of this message, I want you to reflect on something deeply personal, not what you lost, not what you waited for, but who you became while waiting. That version of you is the real miracle. And if this message is resonating, if you feel seen, understood, less alone, I invite you to share this with someone who might be silently struggling. Someone who needs to hear that delay is not denial, that silence is not abandonment, that last-second help is still divine help. And in the comments, when you're ready, answer this honestly. What did Allah teach you during the season where nothing seemed to move? There is power in naming it. There is healing in sharing it. Stay connected here on Deen and Discipline. More reflections like this are coming, for hearts that are tired but still faithful, wounded but still trusting. What Allah is doing inside you is far greater than what He is changing around you. And now, you finally have the eyes to see it. There is one more layer to this that most people never talk about because it requires honesty. Real honesty. During the delay, there were moments you didn't just feel sad. You felt angry, confused, maybe even resentful. You questioned why others received ease while you carried weight. You wondered if your sincerity even mattered. And sometimes you felt guilty for those thoughts. But listen to me carefully. Allah was not offended by your confusion. He was not shocked by your frustration. He already knew what was in your heart before you did. And instead of turning away, He stayed close. This is something we learn from the lives of the prophets. Even they asked questions. Even they cried out. Even they felt the heaviness of waiting. Faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is returning again and again, even when your heart is tired. You returned. That matters more than perfection ever could. When help comes at the last second, it rewires the soul. You stop expecting ease to save you. You start trusting Allah to carry you through whatever comes. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Before you wanted answers, now you want alignment. Before you wanted control, now you want closeness. Before you wanted relief, now you want meaning. That is spiritual maturity, and it cannot be rushed. There is a reason Allah didn't let you escape the trial early. He wanted you to walk through it with Him, not around it alone. Because walking through something with Allah leaves a mark of certainty on the heart that no lecture, no book, no advice ever could. And here is the quiet truth. The version of you who once begged just to survive would not recognize the calm strength you carry now. That strength was born in silence, forged in waiting, protected by Allah's timing. You may still feel fragile sometimes. That doesn't mean the growth isn't real. It means you're human, and Allah never asked you to be anything else. If you're wondering what comes next, don't rush to label it. Don't demand clarity. Let life unfold with the same patience that carried you through the delay. Allah does not reveal the entire map at once. He reveals just enough for the next step. And you are ready for that step. As this message comes to a close, let your heart rest for a moment. You don't need to analyze. You don't need to fix anything. Just acknowledge this truth quietly inside yourself. Allah did not arrive late. He arrived exactly when your soul was ready to recognize Him. If this message brought peace, if it helped you breathe a little easier, leave a comment with a single word that describes how you feel right now. Peace, relief, gratitude, strength. Let it be simple. Let it be real. And if you know someone who feels forgotten, delayed, or quietly breaking, share this with them. Sometimes Allah answers someone else's dua through you. Stay with deen and discipline. The next message will speak to a different kind of silence, the kind that appears after growth, the kind that prepares you for responsibility, not just relief. Until then, remember this. What felt like the last second was actually the first moment you were fully ready, and Allah in His perfect wisdom never misses that moment. There is still one final truth your heart needs to settle into, and it is gentle but powerful. After help arrives, many people feel afraid it might disappear, afraid that peace is temporary, afraid to fully breathe again. If you felt that, you're not broken, you're healing. When you've lived in survival mode for a long time, calm can feel unfamiliar. Your body learned how to brace itself, how to expect disappointment, how to stay alert. And now Allah is teaching you something new, how to rest without guilt, how to trust without clinging, how to move forward without fear chasing every step. This is also part of the process. Allah didn't just rescue you from a moment. He is retraining your nervous system, your thoughts, your reactions, teaching you that you don't have to panic to be prepared. You don't have to suffer to be faithful. You don't have to lose yourself to prove your sincerity. The delay taught you endurance. The last second help teaches you peace. And peace is not passive. Peace is a sign of alignment. You may notice now that you're more selective. with your energy, with your words, with who you let close to your heart. That's not isolation, that's wisdom. Allah removed noise so you could hear Him clearly. Some relationships faded during your waiting. Some paths closed without explanation. That wasn't punishment, that was pruning. Allah was clearing space for a future that requires focus, stability, and intention. You didn't lose time, you gained discernment. And here is something very important. Do not rush to explain your journey to people who didn't walk with you through it. Not everyone needs access to your story. Allah knows what He did with you. That is enough. The help that arrived at the last second was not meant to impress the world. It was meant to anchor you. As we approach the end of this reflection, I want you to feel this message settle, not as motivation but as reassurance. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are not behind schedule. You are exactly where Allah knew you would be. If your heart is still tender, protect it. If your faith feels quiet but steady, honor it. If your gratitude feels deep but wordless, let it stay that way. Not every blessing needs to be announced. Some are meant to be lived. Before we part, I want to invite you into the next step gently. The next video on this channel will speak about what happens after patience is rewarded, about how to walk forward without returning to fear, about how to carry blessings without losing humility. If this message met you where you are, the next one will guide you where you're going. So stay close to Deen and discipline. And now, one final reflection for you. When you look back on the moment help arrived, not what changed around you, but what changed inside you. Hold that answer softly. Allah didn't just save you. He shaped you. And what He shapes, He protects. There is a quiet confidence Allah places in the heart after a season like yours. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek validation. It simply knows. Knows that whatever comes next, you will not be shaken the same way again, because you have already met your breaking point and discovered Allah was there waiting. That discovery changes everything. You may notice now that your duas sound different, less desperate, more honest. You're not bargaining anymore, you're conversing. You're not begging for proof, you're standing in trust. That shift is not small. It's the difference between faith built on hope and faith built on experience. Experience teaches what words never can. When Allah helps at the last second, He teaches the heart patience that doesn't panic, hope that doesn't rush, and trust that doesn't demand signs every day. You no longer need constant reassurance because you've lived through uncertainty and survived it with Allah. This is why the next phase of your life may feel quieter than you expected. Not dramatic, not flashy, grounded, stable, intentional. And that is a blessing many people overlook because they confuse peace with boredom. Peace is rare. You were never meant to live in constant emotional intensity. You were meant to live in alignment. And alignment feels calm, clear, rooted. It doesn't steal your sleep. It doesn't chase validation. It doesn't compete. If you ever miss the chaos, remind yourself why Allah removed you from it. And if at times you feel misunderstood again, remember this. Growth often creates distance, not because you're better than others, but because you're different from who you used to be. And not everyone can follow you into that change. That's okay. Allah doesn't prepare everyone for the same path. You may also notice a stronger pull toward purpose now, toward discipline, toward meaning, toward using what you've learned to support others, even quietly. That urge is not random. Allah often turns survivors into anchors for others. But don't rush to carry everyone. You're still settling, still integrating, still healing in ways you may not even recognize yet. Take your time. As we come to the very end of this message, let it close gently, like a door that doesn't slam but seals. You don't need more answers tonight. You don't need to replay the pain. You don't need to relive the waiting. You've already crossed that bridge. If this message walked with you, if it made you feel less alone in your journey, leave a comment with a short dua for yourself. Just one line, something your heart needs right now. There is barakah in intention, even when shared quietly. And if someone came to mind while listening, someone who is still waiting, still hurting, still wondering why help hasn't come yet, share this with them. You may be the reason they don't give up tonight. Stay connected with Deen and discipline. What's coming next will speak about living with purpose after patience, and how to move forward without carrying old fear into new chapters. Until then, remember this and carry it gently with you. Allah did not help you at the last second because you were weak. He waited until the last second so you would discover how strong He made you. And now, just before we part, let me leave you with something to carry into your next quiet moment. Not advice, not instruction, just a truth to rest in. If Allah brought help at the last second once, it doesn't mean you must live in fear waiting for the next crisis. It means you now know who holds you when things feel uncertain. It means your heart has proof, not theory. And proof creates a calm that no storm can steal. From here on, life may still test you, but it will not test you to break you. It will test you to remind you who you belong to. Whenever you feel the old anxiety trying to return, whenever your mind starts replaying, what if it happens again, gently bring yourself back to this moment, to this knowing. Allah carried you when you had nothing left. He will not suddenly forget how. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to keep returning. That is enough. May Allah grant you a heart that trusts without panic, patience without bitterness, and a life where even the delays feel meaningful. May He protect what He shaped inside you. May He make you a source of ease for yourself and for others. And may you never forget that the same Lord who arrived at the last second is already present in this one. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax, and if you're still here, listening in this quiet space, let this final moment land softly, not as a lesson, not as a command, just as companionship. There will be days ahead when you forget how far you've come, days when the mind grows loud again, days when the heart wonders if it was all real. When that happens, don't argue with yourself. Don't force faith. Just remember the moment Allah showed up when nothing else did. Memory can be a form of worship too. You don't owe anyone a dramatic testimony. You don't need to prove your growth. The most authentic changes happen quietly, and Allah loves quiet sincerity. Walk gently with yourself. Speak kindly to your heart. Let patience remain your companion, not your burden. And when you fall short again, return the same way you always have, honestly. This path you're on now is not about rushing forward. It's about walking steady, one step, one breath, one prayer at a time. May Allah keep you grounded when things go well and held when things feel heavy. May He make your inner world a place of refuge, not fear. And may every delay you face from here on remind you, not of doubt, but of how faithfully Allah meets you. You were never alone. You were always guided. And you are still being carried. Before this message truly ends, let your heart sit with one last layer of meaning, because closure is not about stopping. It's about settling. There will come a time when you no longer replay the pain to understand it, when the questions soften, when the need to explain fades. That is when you'll know healing has reached its deeper work, not forgetting what happened but no longer needing it to define you. You may notice that your relationship with Allah feels simpler now, less dramatic, less urgent, more steady. That is not distance, that is maturity. Faith, when it grows, becomes quieter and stronger at the same time, like a tree that no longer shakes with every wind because its roots run deep. And those roots were built in the waiting. You didn't just learn patience. You learned restraint. You learned how to hold back reaction, how to pause before despair, how to choose trust when fear felt more convincing. These are not small qualities. These are the qualities Allah places in those He intends to use gently but powerfully in the world. From here on, life may not give you constant signs, because you don't need them anymore. You've already seen enough to know. You've already felt enough to trust. When something good arrives now, receive it with gratitude, not anxiety. You don't have to brace for loss. You don't have to diminish joy to protect yourself. What Allah gives with wisdom, He sustains with mercy. And when something difficult returns, remember this. You have walked through darkness before and came out with faith intact. That means whatever comes next will meet a heart that knows how to endure without collapsing. You are no longer becoming, you are arriving. Arriving at acceptance. Arriving at steadiness. Arriving at a version of yourself that doesn't panic at silence, because silence once shaped you. Let this be the chapter where you live, not just survive, where you breathe without apologizing, where you trust without chasing reassurance, where you let Allah handle outcomes while you handle intention. As this reflection ends, I want to leave you with a gentle invitation. Carry one small practice with you. When life feels uncertain again, instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" try asking, "What is this shaping in me?" That question alone can turn confusion into meaning. If this journey through words brought comfort, grounding, or clarity, let your heart speak below. Share one sentence you wish someone had told you during your hardest waiting season. Your words may become the answer to someone else's silent prayer. And if you sense that these messages meet you in places you don't often share with others, stay connected. The next reflections on Deen and discipline will continue exploring what it means to live with faith after survival, with purpose after patience, and with calm after chaos. Now let this message close the way it began, quietly, gently, with truth. Allah did not save you to rush you. He saved you to steady you. And whatever unfolds next will meet a heart that already knows where to return.